everyone. This is our BingeBooks monthly book club chat. It is January 2022. I am your host, Alessandra Torre. I'm with BingeBooks, but I'm also a romance author, and I'm so excited today to be talking to Angel Lawson and Jeanne St. James, and we're going to be chatting all about writing romance, what makes a great romance story. I am beyond excited for this chat. So welcome, ladies. It's so fantastic to have you here. And welcome to all the readers who are watching. So as a quick introduction, I'll introduce myself and then I'll pass the mic to each of these ladies. My name is Alessandra. I started writing romance in 2012. I've written a little over 20 romance novels, and I write contemporary erotic romance is normally the kind of wheelhouse I fall into. So that's me. Angel, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Angel, and I published in February of 2012, my first book, and I have sort of taken the bumpy road traveled of starting more in regular paranormal type YA to now just pretty firmly entrenched in contemporary dark romance. And it was a long path from point A to point Z. So.
And how many books have you written?
Oh, I have written a lot of books. Let's just go with 50 plus. How about that?
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. You're making me look bad. We started this.
I don't know. You make me look bad that you've been much more slow and steady.
What about you, Jeanne?
Well, let's see. I started writing when I was 13, but I was first published in 2009. I published over 50 something books. I think yesterday I started my 58th to be published, but I've written more than that. Of course, back then we had drawer babies. I write contemporary romance. I used to call it erotic romance, but now I call it steamy romance. But I also write under JJ Masters. So I have two pen names, and yeah.
That's
a lot of
when
books.
You started in 2009. Were you self-published then, or did you have a
No, when I first got published, I had 3 different publishers buy 3 books, one out right after the other. And I published 2 in 2009 and then 1 in January 2010. And then I took a 6-year hiatus. So then when I came back, I went back to one of my publishers. Then as soon as I get all my rights back, I started indie publishing. Best thing ever.
It is the best thing ever.
Oh, it was the best thing ever. When I came back into the industry, I had no idea about self-publishing, because when I left the industry, you didn't self-publish. So it was like eye-opening, and I had to hit the ground running. So I made a lot of mistakes at the beginning, but yeah. So now I love it. I have all the control. I can publish as much as I want, so it's great.
And to readers who are listening, because we just kind of went into an authorly direction. So self-publishing, you control your covers, you control your content, you also are in charge of all of the marketing and advertising. You are a one-woman show oftentimes, versus having a traditional publisher who handles all of those details for you, but you have very little say in the packaging of your book. Oftentimes we have pretty good say, but I was acquired by Harlequin after my first book. And it was so funny because I didn't know the rules of romance at that time. And so I had my main character sleeping with another woman while on a date with my character who he left in the club. And my editor was like, "We cannot have this happen." And so she said,
I know how that is. I killed the dog.
Rules of romance.
I killed the dog, and my editor was like, "You can't kill the dog." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, I'll fix that."
Yeah,
you can kill people. You can kill people, but you can't kill the dog.
No.
I just referred to killing a cat in one book, and a reader who later became Jana Aston, who later became a romance novelist, would not forgive me for years about it. And it was just a mention of killing a cat. It's an interesting world. Hey guys, I'm seeing the comment section. We have readers joining us from both Facebook and YouTube. So it's great to have you guys. And okay, so let's on the subject just of the rules of romance and that sort of thing. Did you guys always know that you wanted to write romance? I know Angel said she was in paranormal first, but did you always read romance? So did you sort of understand how romance stories were supposed to be told? Or was there, like for me, I never read romance. So I had a lot to figure out as I went. And unfortunately, I figured that out through the pages of books that I published. So I apologize in advance to all my readers for that.
Yeah, I don't think I really read romance, or if I did, it was like secondary. And I enjoyed having that in the book secondary, but the funny thing, this is what sent me into writing romance, is I had spent years and years reading like Oprah Book Club books, which that's a certain brand of
like a smart book.
Smart, depressing books.
Yeah.
And I read and read and read these terrible books that are award-winning books. And I read the book 1,000 Splendid Suns, which is a amazing book. And I literally stayed up all night long reading it. And I was like, I just want to go drown myself in the river. I feel awful. And several people had been trying, here it comes, y'all. Several people have been trying to get me to read Twilight. And I was like, I have a complicated relationship with vampires. I don't think this is healthy for me to read this. But I was so, like, I had read that book and I went somewhere and
you needed something different.
Yeah, someone gave me the book. It was like, read this book.
Yeah.
About these vampires. And I'm like, fine, because I cannot read this other stuff. And of course I got super sucked in like everyone else. I didn't, even though I would say it really took me longer from there to even really understand that that wasn't a vampire book, but it was a romance.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, now I understand it is a super tropey, heavy romance with vampires. But I went into it thinking it was a book about vampires.
I agree. Yeah. I actually, it's so funny you said that, because I used to say I had never read a romance book. I read like Daniel Steele when I was 12 or something, but I had never read a romance book, and I just started writing romance. But I totally forgot. I read and loved Twilight, but it wasn't really marketed as a romance novel. At least somehow I missed that. And I thought it was just some book about vampires. But you're right. Now looking back, I'm like, of course it's a romance novel.
So then after that, I was looking for similar type content, and somebody's like, oh, read J.R. Ward or someone, which is like, and I was like, oh, Twilight is a romance. Like, all of the things are here, but this is very smutty, and this is, Twilight. And it merged, and that was sort of it for me, because I think I finally understood what a romance book was. I don't know. It sounds really lame, but I'm with you. Before that, I think I had read some Danielle Steele, like my mom's, but didn't totally understand what was happening. I don't know. I was just reading because I was a reader and it was on the shelf, and you just read what was on the shelf. So, yeah. Anyway, that was my two romance novels.
What about you, Jeanne? And while you answer this, you can answer this one at the same time. Nicole said, how did you get specifically into MC romance? So if you could answer both of those questions at the same time, that'd be great.
All right. Well, my answer might be a little bit long here, because I'm in my 50s. So I had always read romance, and I started reading really young, and I started reading romance really young. And I'm really going to date myself because it was way before ebooks. In fact, I got published when ebooks came around. That's when I got published. So I lived out in the country, and back then I couldn't get to a library because I was too young to drive. And so they had and this is way back, they had this mail-in library thing. So you could mail in like a list of books and check them off. And then they would mail you these books. And then when you were done reading them, you'd mail them back. It was like the most awesome thing ever. So I read like crazy, and I was always getting these mails. So it was romance. I started with category, and I started with historical romance, reading that. And I just got sucked in, and I've always wanted to write romance. I've never wanted to write anything else. I love it. I at least need romantic. When I read a book, I at least need romantic elements in it somehow. I need a happily ever after. Or, these couples get together, or triads. For me, it's triads. But MC, I wasn't planning on writing MC, and that kind of like exploded. I just was reading a book because that's what happens. My characters talk to me when I.
So wait, quick thing. MC, for anyone watching who doesn't know what that is motorcycle romance. That's right. That's what I always say. I hope that's right. Correct. Okay. All right. Okay. So go ahead.
Writers. So I just happen to be, whenever I try to read my characters or a character or somebody starts talking to me and interrupting me. So what happened was I was reading a book, and I don't remember what one it was, and the main character from my first MC book, which is Down and Dirty Zach, a scene just popped in my head with him, and I wrote it down, and I'm like, yeah, because I really wasn't reading MC romances, and I still don't. I don't read them. And I'm like, I don't know if I can write MC. I know nothing about it. So I kind of put it aside, and I started doing a lot of research, and I interviewed someone who was in a pagan support club. And I started doing a lot of research to get ready, because I'm like, I can't do this. There's no way. And I decided, when I sat down to write it eventually, when I got around to it, it just exploded. And I wasn't expecting that. And then suddenly I'm known as this MC author. And I'm like, wait, I write other stuff too. But yeah, it has to have romance for sure. But yeah, somehow I got known for MC, and I love it. It's just I like to write other stuff too, which I'm doing right now. So, yep.
Yeah, that's what's tough in our industry, is really when you find fastest path to find success is to find your niche and then stick in it. And the problem is, and this kind of circles to a question that Jeanne had from Facebook, which is, how do you find inspiration to keep content original and different? For me, my mind is like, oh, I want to write this type of book and this type of book and this type of book, and none of these are in the same genre or subgenre. And that's horrible for my career, but good for my, inspirational process. So
yeah, you got to do what you have to do for your creativity, because you need to keep that creativity up. And that's why I have a second pen name, because I wrote a series that's paranormal. It's gay romance, but it's paranormal also, which is the first books I ever wrote that were paranormal. So I did it under another pen name because it wasn't anything like what I write under Jeanne St. James. So, but yeah, it keeps it fresh. And that's why I just finished Sunday. Wait, what's today? Today, I don't know what date it is anymore. Sunday, I finished the last book in my current MC series, which is Blood Fury MC. And then yesterday I started just a gay romance, and it's a second chance gay romance, because I need to kind of like back away from MC for a little bit, just to refresh my creativity. And I keep saying it's kind of like a palette cleanser. Yeah. And then I have another Menage series coming up after that, which again is not MC. And then eventually I'll circle back to my MC, but I just need a change. Mm-hmm. So.
So Sharon,
fresh ideas. That's the whole thing. Fresh ideas.
I get it. Did you want to speak on that, Angel, before I go to the next question, or you good?
No, I'm good. You can go.
Okay. All right. Next question. So Sharon had asked what my writing process is, and I'd love to know this. It's great. I always have a notepad of some sort with me, because you never know when you're going to get ideas. And I literally was outside before this plotting a book, which I don't normally do, but you can see here. This is how I plot a book. I draw like the story arcs, and this has two different, it has a plot and a subplot. So I have two different story arcs, and then I kind of write in as they go where they're at. But but I don't normally do this. I normally just start with page 1 and go, but this is a traditionally published book. I have to turn in the outline to my editor. Ooh. So unfortunately, I'm like forcing myself into, and I do often do this, but then I'm going to take this times 10, and that's what I'm going to turn in. But what about you guys? Are y'all outliners? Do you plot? Do you just pick a hero and a heroine and go for it? What is your process?
I usually kind of start with some characters and some ideas. I mean, if it's already inside a series or something, it's a little easier because your people are sort of picked out. I have I've been a pantser for a long time. And I kind of just plot as I go along. I mean, so I'm not usually completely make it up as I'm writing, but I kind of plot chapter by chapter or a couple chapters at a time. But with my co-written work, we've gotten a little bit better at really kind of defining it out. I mean, it takes us a little bit, you know, to kind of massage it into where we want it, but working together, it definitely helps for us to both have the same vision of, you know, really where we're going.
Yeah.
When it's just me by myself, I can kind of toy with it a little bit more, you know, and be a little more flexible. But it definitely, like, the more we work together and the more we do, the more we kind of have to know exactly what we're both writing towards the whole time. So I'm kind of both.
As for me, I'm a mess. I was always a pantser. And then I started like making notes here and there, like big chunks of dialogue or chunks of narrative, and it was all over the place. And then I would try to like get them in and organized like as a puzzle. And then last year I started using Scrivener, and it was like a life changer for me. Yeah. And now that I write in Scrivener, I can do all those chunks. Like if I'm trying to read and somebody starts talking to me, I just write it down, and then I go in and I'll just put it somewhere, and then I can move it around where I need it later, or delete it or whatever. But I would say
Scrivener is a writing program for the readers.
Yes, Scrivener's a writing program, and it is like I said, it's been a lifesaver for me because it has made, like, I wish I would have started using it sooner. It's just so easy to move stuff around and keep it organized, and everything's all in one spot instead of like a bunch of different documents and very disorganized. But so yeah, I don't know what I am. I'm just a mess. I'm just a messy writer, and I just figure it out as I go. Usually I'm mostly pantsing, I would say. Sometimes I know where the story needs to go. I'll make a list if I know there's certain plot points I need to hit for that book, especially if it's in a series, you know, because of all the subplots along the series. And I'll make notes of that. But other than that, I let my characters drive my books pretty much.
Yeah.
Nessa from YouTube said, do you have any authors that you fangirl over?
I have like authors that I fangirl over as a colleague more than as a writer, if that makes sense. It's sort of like a dual. You mean
like you're like, wow, this girl has her stuff together, or this guy has his stuff together.
Yes, like I'm very impressed with their business, you know. I have that kind of fangirling. I think I actually have that more. Because once you start writing, it's a little bit, and when you're in the indie sphere and you get to know the authors, and even if you read them, it's a little bit hard to separate their person from their work. Does that make sense? Whereas like if it was you know, like Stephen King, you don't know him, so that's just celebrity fan. Does that make so? There's kind of like two different ways, and it's I don't know. It's kind of hard for me to pick. I look at it differently. I don't know.
Yeah, and I think for us, like, it loses the celebrity thing, because I would know, like, someone's like, oh my gosh, so like you've met so and so, you know, and for us, we're like, yeah, but it's like a normal thing.
I stood
like,
in line next to them at the bathroom, and
at
a conference, and they had on a name tag.
Yeah, we lose the amazement of them because we're in their world doing the same thing. But what about you, Jeanne?
I no, there isn't. I mean, there's authors out there that I'm impressed, you know, they do so well, and I love that for them. But other than that, I've never been a fangirl type of person, even with like actors and actresses and all that stuff. I've never been like that. So, I mean, yeah, I'm like, oh, good, you go, you're doing great. You know, like you're number one on the list in Kindle or something like that. But, you know, like I root them on. But other than that, there's nobody I fangirl over.
Yeah, I can say it. The author that I am most impressed by, just from a writing skill, is Gillian Flynn, who wrote Gone Girl, and I just love her books, and I love the way that she puts a story together. But But I don't know. I'm with you guys. Like, it's just.
I do really, really. Now that you put it in perspective, I think that Sarah J. Maas is like an amazing writer. I also am. Now that you gave me an example, I am also super obsessed actually with Pierce Jackson from the Red Rising series, and I feel like things would maybe get complicated if we met in person. I didn't say Pierce Jackson, it's Pierce Brown. It's Pierce Brown, Red Rising. It's like the book does things to me. And I happen to be sitting next to Dave Chesson, who y'all know Dave Chesson, who runs Kindle and an author service. And I sat down next to him, and he was like, "I'm reading this book," and he started talking about it, and I started fangirling with him, and I was like, "I'm sorry, that just got really weird." And so yeah, I take it back. There's a couple authors who are. But I think I can't imagine meeting them in a way and like what I would do if I met them. But there are a couple that I'm like in awe by their abilities. I think it's different. Yeah. It's not just like as a fan, it's like, tell me all your secrets about how you did this.
You're impressed with their skills. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of just a little different. So anyway, yeah.
Do y'all ever read a book and you're like, oh my gosh, why could I have not come up with this story? And I'm like getting like passionately angry at the author and at the book because it's so amazing. And I'm like so mad that now I can't create this story. Like, is that just me, or do y'all ever?
Yeah,
I've never had that.
No? I have. Red Rising is one. Sarah J. Maas's like Throne of Glass series. Both of those are not even in my genre that I write in. They're both like fantasy. And I'm so impressed with their ability to weave intricate plot lines over books to the point that sometimes I'm like, this is so tedious. What are we talking about? Like, why are we talking about this for like 40 pages? And then when it comes together, it's so satisfying. And it's such a long game, and I think, boy, I wish I could write a long game over 3 books and have people blown away by my amazingness. So
to tie it all together.
Yeah.
I couldn't watch Game of Thrones with my husband because at the end of every episode he'd be like, why don't you just write something like this?
Yeah.
And I'd be like, are you kidding me? Like, do you understand? Like, what is involved in this? Oh my goodness. We are running out of time already. Okay, can you guys share your average heat level of most of your novels? So if someone's watching and has not read you before, kind of on a scale 1 to 10, how explicit any sexual scenes are, and what's the most interesting place your characters have that you have written a sex scene in, like that your characters have had sex. And I'm totally putting you on the spot with that. So if you need to think about it, or if anybody watching has a scene that they're thinking of that's been an interesting place, chime in. Angel, what's your typical heat level?
So for my YA content, it's a little more probably like it's still steamy. It's still kind of steamy YA. It's like upper YA. So I don't want anyone to think not, but it's more slow build, and I would say maybe a 5. My current work with my co-author is definitely like a 10. And I feel the need to define the 2 because you might get into one or the other. You might get into one or the other and get something that you didn't want. So, yeah.
So what's a title from your 10 series like that they could start with?
It's called, my current series was called, the series is called The Royals of Forsyth U. It's a new adult. And the first 3 books is The Lords, Lords. And we're getting ready to publish The Dukes, which will start the second part of the series. and that comes out in February. And those are definitely a 10, and definitely are dark. And that's all I have to say.
And the 5 series, like if they were going to start with a book, what book would you recommend for like a 5 heat level?
Okay, so the Royals are reverse harem, and I do have about 10 or 11 complete reverse harem series. I do have some male, female, just regular couple, and that would be my Preston Prep series, and it's probably like a 5 or 6. It kind of increases in heat as it goes along, and readers can kind of get a feeling of that, I think. So
great. What about you, Jeanne? What's your heat level?
From a scale of 1 to 10, some I would say is about a 7, then probably to 10. It just depends on the book and the series. Depends how plot heavy it is. I try to do a lot more plot now than sex, but like I have a Menage series I'm going to start writing here soon, and it's going to be more sex heavy versus like my MC romances are more plot heavy. There's a lot of stuff going on, a lot of action, adventure, that kind of stuff. But yeah. And I have one novella I wrote a while ago that's probably my most mildest. And it still is explicit, but it's, I would say that's probably a 7. So, but yeah, there's always some sort of heat in my books, always. So.
Someone said, Jeanine, heat 11 plus.
Yes. I believe it. You're right, Motorcycle. Genuinely, mine has a lot of plot and a lot of action in it as well, but I'm not going to pretend like the steam in it is not a level.
Yeah. So when you finally get around to the sex scenes, yeah, they're hot, but there's so much other stuff going on. Yeah. Especially with my MC series, because there's just so much stuff going on, so many subplots, so much action and stuff like that too. I mean, it's not that kind of action like yours, but it's, killing and stuff like that. So, but you had said it, but you had asked about the craziest place they've had sex. In my one book, well, a couple books, I think I've had, them have sex on motorcycles, but other than that, I can't think of anywhere else that's been super crazy.
Gotta be an
crazy sex scene in a truck out in the field, but that's because of the kind of sex they were having, not actually because of where they had it. So
I'm imagining writing a scene of sex on a motorcycle, and I mean, I guess you can make it happen. But my husband has a motorcycle, and I am constantly worried I'm going to knock it over. It's one way or the other.
They were parked. They weren't riding, because that would be kind of crazy. I don't know if that can even happen. So yeah, that's. Some of my readers mentioned one bike sex scene a lot, and that's for one of my books that's very popular. And I forget about it until they mention it. I forgot I even wrote it because it feels like forever ago. But yeah.
Somebody said Diesel in the bathroom. I don't know.
Yes, Diesel. That's Diesel in the bathroom. Yeah, he had a lot before he met his woman. He knew her, but he hooked up with his woman. He had a lot of sex.
He got around.
And they all know him as his ass as the 8th wonder of the world. So
that's what I called it in the books, and so that stuck.
For me, my heat level is anywhere from a 0 or 1 with like the F list, which is romance, to I'd say a 10 with a book like Undertow. So for me, it greatly varies, which is another reason I've done horribly with staying like in a consistent lane. And for me, my most interesting place has probably been like A Doctor's Office, or which was in my Menage series. I guess it's a Menage series, Filthy Vows, or I had another location, but I can't remember what it was. So yeah, I'll say A Doctor's Office. Did you have a place, Angel?
No, you know what I made me kind of think is like, particularly with my co-author, we don't always find a I think it's less about the location, and for us it's about this like emotional buildup,
Yeah.
which could
Mhm.
be anywhere from like trauma to when they finally fall in love, or like the real sex scene, or then the other, the right before things go really bad. So I think I established them a little bit more by like an emotional setting
Mhm.
than by the physical setting, because I can't even remember all the physical settings, but I can remember the emotional. Yeah, there's some piano stuff in Lords of Pain, one of the Lord's books. People like that,
Mhm.
yeah. So I don't know, but yeah, I think I like categorize them in my mind like, this is when something terrible happens, or this is when something good happens.
Yeah, I can see that because there are so many different types. There's like hate sex, there's makeup
Mhm.
sex, there's
My
like
favorite. My
true
favorite's hate sex.
love. We finally what?
My favorite is hate sex. I love writing hate sex. Love it.
So, well, we are out of time. I see that BingeBooks, one of our team members said that we have some winners to announce, and we have 3 extremely lucky winners who are each going to get a signed copy of one of our books. So each winner will get 3 books. And I'll have, if one of our team members can post the winners, they are drawn from our RSVP. So if you RSVP'd for this chat, you were automatically entered to win. And if you enjoyed this and you'd like to see more BingeBooks chats, we have some exciting authors coming up, and we typically kind of try to mix it up with each genre. A lot of times we do focus on a single book, but with Valentine's Day right around the corner, we did want to do a full romance chat with multiple authors. So thank you so much, Angel and Jeanne, for being here today. Our lucky winners are Victoria, Anna, and Patty. So congratulations to you 3. We will contact you by email. And if you're interested in reading these lovely ladies' books, you can find out more about Angel's books at angellawsonauthor.com and Jeanne's books at jeannestjames.com. So we'll also post those links in the chat, and you can check out both of their books on bingebooks.com. And read samples of many of their titles. So you can just jump right in, start reading the first chapter, and see if it's a good fit, see if the heat level or characters appeal to you. So thank you so much. It's been fantastic to have you here. Is there anything else they need to know about where they can find your books or what you have next, or anything else you want to share before we sign off?
My books are mostly all in Kindle Unlimited.
Oh, that's a good.
Yeah, mine too. I mean, I have some that are wide as other retailers besides Amazon, but the majority of my books are in Kindle Unlimited too. So.
And I didn't put my own website, I forgot, but you can check out my books at alessandratorre.com or on BingeBooks. And I'm glad you mentioned that, Angel. Majority of my romances are in Kindle Unlimited, so I have a fantastic selection there. But I also do have my traditionally published romances are on all platforms, so you can check them out there. And I will see you guys at another BingeBooks Book Club chat. Thank you so much, and I'll see you guys later.